It's wonderful to hear the
Newspapermen Meet Such Interesting People by Vern Partlow. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report, and a shout-out to the journalism class from Marymount College that's here with us today at Democracy Now!, the greenest studios, TV, radio, internet studios in the country. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Juan.
Well, just 4 years after Democrats swept control of Congress, Republicans took back control of the House of Representatives in dramatic fashion on Wednesday. With 10 races still to be called, the Republicans have gained 60 House seats, giving them a wide majority of 239 to 186 for the Democrats. The battle for leadership posts within the Republican-led GOP is already underway, and elections will take place within the party when Congress returns in 2 weeks. The top slots are not expected to be contested, with Minority Leader John Boehner of Ohio almost certain to become Speaker of the House, and Minority Leader Eric Cantor to become the new Majority Leader. Meanwhile,
on the other side of the aisle, the makeup of the Democratic caucus has also changed. The group most affected in the midterm elections is the conservative Blue Dog Democrats. The Blue Dog caucus was cut in half, going from 54 to 26. At the same time, the 79-member Progressive Caucus lost about 4 members on Tuesday. This means progressives will make up a notably higher percentage of Democratic House members in the 112th Congress. For more, we're joined by the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Arizona Democrat Raul Grijalva. He is in a very tight race right now, though appears to have edged it out with 3,900 votes against a Republican challenger named Ruth McClung, although McClung has refused to concede until all votes are counted. With 99% of the precincts reporting, Grijalva leads by about 3 percentage points. Over the past year, he has received a number of security threats, including a suspicious package covered in swastikas that had suspicious powder in it sent to his office, a bullet shot through his district office in Yuma. Joining us now from Tucson, Arizona. Well, welcome to Democracy Now!, Congressman Grijalva. You've been through a lot this year. What is the latest numbers right now, and have you already given your victory speech?
Yeah, I did give my victory speech on election night, and we're up by about 4,000. There's ballots to be counted, absentee ballots that were not counted on election day. We hope and we believe that in the areas that they're coming from were areas in which we did well, and if that pattern continues, we will maintain the lead or build on it. So I think what I said election night, to be clear, I said, well, I go back to Congress not with a renewed sense of caution, but with a renewed sense of purpose. And I think, given what the makeup of the House of Representatives is going to be, the role of the Progressive Caucus and progressive members in general is going to be beyond the role of loyal opposition, to be ineffective and to assure that the legislative items that have to be challenged that the Republicans are going to bring up are also challenged by alternatives that are put together by progressives and Democrats. That lacked the last session, in which we compromised and watered down many important initiatives, and I think we paid the price for it.
Well, Congressman, some are saying that you had such a tight race because of the high-profile positions you took in the battle over the Arizona Show Me Your Papers law, publicly calling initially for a boycott of your own state, and that sort of rallied conservative forces both within the state and outside of the state to try to defeat you. Any regrets about the positions you took back then, or ideas about why the race became so close?
I think you're correct. I think we got battered for about 6 months on the issue of the boycott, the issue of not supporting 1070. And generally, the cauldron was this. You had immigration, 1070 here, plus profile positions on other kinds of issues that I had taken that created a good opportunity for people to coalesce, to try to make an example of. And so we knew around July how tough this race was going to be, and we prepared for it, and we're going to be one of the survivors. But yeah, that issue was it over and over and over again. And do I regret it? I think strategically I could have done something differently or better, but at the moment it was a personal decision that not to let this law go quietly into the night, that we had to say something loud and bring attention to it. And I'm glad we did bring attention to it, because it is a bad law, and it's not a good precedent, not just for Arizona, but for the country.
On the issue of immigration, 3 House members from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Congress members John Salazar of Colorado, Solomon Ortiz, Texas, Ciro Rodriguez, also Texas, lost their bids for re-election, meaning the pro-immigration reform wing of Congress will shrink next session. They were replaced by 3 anti-immigrant congressmen. Your response, Congressmember Grijalva, in terms of where this means immigration reform will go?
I think it's going to be difficult, very difficult. And I've told groups prior to the election and since the election that pro-immigrant groups, pro-immigrant rights groups, that we're going to be fighting an uphill battle this whole session, that the Republican Party was lockstep opposed to it. You saw even in the Senate, no action on the DREAM Act. I don't see their position changing at all. And so for us, it's going to be an uphill battle. And I hope that this is one of the alternatives that's presented by the Democratic Caucus, even if we have to do it in a more pragmatic way, a piece-by-piece approach. But in terms of overall comprehensive reform, it's going to be very difficult. I think we use this period of 2 years prior to the presidential election as a means to build public support and a public constituency for immigration reform, and probably concentrate on that more than a legislative vehicle that I think is going to be very, very difficult.
And in the sense of the Democrats fighting the impact of whether they fought strong enough for immigration reform or not in terms of this election, clearly Harry Reid benefited dramatically by his outspokenness in support of immigration reform, because really the Latino vote in Nevada was the one that allowed him to survive against Sharon Angle, and yet others who maybe were not as vocal as you or Harry Reid were in terms of their stance have ended up now paying the price because the numbers and the percentages of Latinos who came out to vote has clearly dropped from certainly from 2008, and really not much improvement from 2006.
Absolutely correct. In surviving this race that I had, there's no question the Latino community threw the lifeline for me, and is going to keep me in office. And I think we missed an opportunity maybe 18 months ago to tackle the issue of immigration reform head-on as a party, and build the kind of trust with the Latino community that's not only needed for elections, but needed overall, and we didn't do that. And I find it kind of ironic that many of the pieces of legislation, immigration is a good example, that we did not take on was because we needed to protect vulnerable members of our caucus. And as you saw, the opposition to them was not any less if we had or hadn't. And you see by the losses that the biggest chunk of losses, huge chunk of losses for the Democrats, came out of that string of conservative Democrats that we spent 2 years trying to protect.
I want to ask you about the blue dogs and the progressives. I mean, the progressive Democrats make up a significant percentage of Democrats overall now in Congress. They outnumber the blue dogs, who lost by half. They're down to 26 by some 3 times. And at the number around 80, we're talking about, what, a little under a half of the Democrats are progressive Democrats.
Yeah, key to the progressive Democrats in Congress and in the Democratic Caucus is going to be the agenda that we coalesce around, the leadership that we coalesce around, and the and the fact that we stick together. There are issues that we have to stick together. When it comes to Bush's continuing the Bush tax cuts for the rich, we have to stick together. We have to stick together in the issue of privatization and cutting in benefits and raising retirement age for Social Security. We have to stick together. And we have to stick together on job creation initiatives. And I think that'll be the test for us. I think being able to coalesce around leadership and an agenda, I think is going to make us very, very effective, not only as part of presenting alternatives to the Republican agenda, but within our own caucus to setting the table on the initiatives that we're going to support. With regards to the Blue Dogs, my point earlier, that we spent 2 years protecting the vulnerability of many of these members. We didn't go with a public option.